Good day, everyone. So let's discuss Yae Miko and the changes they've made to her Seisho Sakura or her E ability. So, in essence, what they've done is they've changed the targeting from random to nearest. So, this is how it would work. You'd place a Seisho Sakura. This little Seisho Sakura would, let's say, arguably have a detection radius or like some sort of circle around it. If an enemy was within that circle, well, then that Seisho Sakura would sort of hit that enemy. But if you had multiple enemies within your little circle, well, then essentially one of those enemies would be selected at random, and then you would hit it. Now, for a lot of players, they might be like, well, what does this mean? Well, it's a net nerf. The fact that we have a specific enemy that's now the nearest to the totem that's being hit is a net nerf for a variety of reasons. The first is, in essence, you are now sort of in the overworld in particular, if you've got a mob of enemies, instead of now attacking all of the mobs and allowing you to focus on a specific enemy right here, you now have to focus here on an enemy whilst these mobs can still attack you. The at randomness here meant that if those enemies that are over here were within your detection radius and potentially coming in to hit your character from the side, they would be stunned. They would, in essence, be sort of what's the word, paralyzed, or just sort of knocked off a bit. And that is quite beneficial because you can then very easily then focus on attacking enemies right here. It's even worse than that. If one of the enemies now has, like, let's say, a shield, and you place all your turrets such that that enemy is nearest to all of them, then essentially your turrets are attacking a Hilichurl with a shield doing no damage. That means they're doing air, whereas in the past you would still be hitting the enemies around you. And think about it, if you're hitting the enemies around you and you now suddenly want to swirl them with sucrose or with kazu or whatever, then you can actually get the viridescent venereset, viridescent, well, however you pronounce it, but debuff onto a lot more enemies, whereas in this case they're only applying electro to the nearest enemy, so that is kind of not so good. So what should miHoYo have done? Well, this is my solution, and it's pretty practical. Give us a character menu. On the character menu, say Yae Miko controls, etc., etc., and then there would be some sort of control type for Yae Miko that said Seisho Sakura auto targeting. This would be really good because what would this allow you to do? Well, you could toggle nearest or random, or I'll do you one better, the enemy that is marked by Yae Miko. So wouldn't it be cool to have a pinging system which allows you to mark a specific enemy, and if that enemy is within the range of your Seisho Sakura, your Seisho Sakuras will always prioritize the marked enemy. If you suddenly decide to switch the mark from one enemy to another, they will obviously switch between targets provided that they haven't already fired their bolt. That would be the easiest way to do this. So this is what's gotten me mad, really. miHoYo introduced a character to us. They allowed us to take the character through a trial run. The character's been in the game. There was no mention of the random versus like sort of nearest targeting as being a bug or in any sort of scenario. So they released the character for a full while, for a very good time, for like 20 days without mentioning anything. Then they had another 20 days where they mentioned nothing. And now suddenly they changed the functionality afterwards. This is after a character's been alive. This is not like the Raiden Beidou interaction. That was during beta. What happens during beta, whatever you want to call it, happens during it. It's not indicative, but afterwards, you don't change things. If you do change things, give us the flexibility, at least, at the very minimum, to dictate how we want to play the game. Now, I think for $1 billion company to cheapen out to sort of change a character so fundamentally like this, it's just frustrating. It really, really is frustrating, and that's why I'm mad. For the majority of players that simply just want to press a button and let the character do all the work, this is a net nerf. This is not good for the majority of Yae players. Now, if you are in the minority of players like me that are very skilled with Yae and that prefer to use her as a spacing tool, understanding how you can set up sort of against enemies, how you can position properly, and how you can abuse stamina on other characters and let Yae sort of take over the stamina downtime, all those advanced cool things. This sort of change is a net buff in that case, because what happens is the randomness is now sort of completely in your control. How you distribute the damage, where you position, where you play on the field would be is far greater. It actually gives you far more benefit. You want more single target focus on a specific enemy, or do you want to like spread out by positioning your turrets in such a place that you can apply electro to those enemies that you want to do on. In my opinion, if you're really skilled at Yai, this is a net buff because you've got the control. For the majority of players, it's a net nerf because they don't want the control, they just want to AFK and then just pop down freeze and just smack everyone with Ayaka and the rest of the mob. So, am I angry? Yes. I'm not angry because it's a nerf. I'm angry because there's a loss of flexibility, and we've not been given a warning about this outside of those that were involved in the beta program and so on. And I find it quite disgusting from MiHoYo. This is terrible business practice. This is not how you change characters. This is not what you should do. I think giving flexibility, following the solutions that I've suggested, is the better way. And please, if someone from MiHoYo, most likely not, sees this, this is what you need to do. Give us optionality. Don't take it away and replace it with something that is clearly not good for your players. It's just, I can't, yeah, it's just, ugh.